Have you ever wondered who actually owns the moon? If you somehow built a rocket, flew up there, and put a rock in your pocket to bring home, whose property are you taking? The easiest way to think about space is to picture a public city park. You, me, and anyone else can lay down a picnic blanket and enjoy the sunshine. But no matter how long you sit there, you are not allowed to build a permanent fence and claim that patch of grass as your private backyard. That public park rule is the exact legal foundation of our solar system. Back in 1967, global leaders sat down and signed a document called the Outer Space Treaty. It put down on paper that outer space is free for everyone to explore, but no single nation can claim ownership over any part of it. For decades, this system worked smoothly, without much conflict. Going to space was so incredibly difficult and expensive that only national governments had the massive resources required to make the trip. Today, the landscape is entirely different. Private companies operating out of massive coastal manufacturing plants are building their own rockets and launching their own commercial missions into orbit. This raises a practical question. How do international treaties handle private businesses? The 1967 agreement uses a rule known as Article 6, and it works exactly like parental responsibility. If a child breaks a window at the park, the parent is the one held responsible. Under this rule, a private space company cannot just launch a rocket whenever it wants. The country where that company is based must give official permission, and then continuously supervise what that company is doing up there to ensure they follow the rules. But there is a catch. Just like a teenager might ask the more relaxed parent for permission to stay out late, a space company can move its operations to a host country with highly lenient regulations to avoid strict oversight. Because different countries have different standards, enforcement is patchy. This uneven patchwork makes it incredibly difficult to guarantee that every company across the globe is operating safely and protecting the orbital environment. Lifting those rockets off the ground and breaking free of Earth's gravity requires burning hundreds of tons of fuel in a matter of minutes. This animated diagram shows what happens next. Many of these rockets release exhaust filled with black carbon. You can think of it like the thick, dark soot that billows out of an old, outdated basement furnace. Once these tiny dark particles reach the upper atmosphere, they clump together. They form a layer that acts exactly like a dark winter blanket wrapped entirely around the Earth. That blanket creates two immediate problems. The dark soot absorbs and traps the sun's heat, warming the atmosphere. At the same time, the chemicals in the exhaust eat away at the ozone layer, which is the natural shield protecting us from harmful solar radiation. To fix this, we do not necessarily need brand new space laws. We can use the environmental laws we already have here on the ground, like the Clean Air Act in the United States, to strictly regulate the pollution coming directly from these rocket factories and launch pads. Before we expand commercial flights to mine the rest of the solar system, we have to ensure we are not causing permanent damage to our own atmosphere in the process. And mining is exactly what is coming next. Companies are currently designing equipment to harvest water ice and highly valuable minerals from the moon, which can be used to generate energy and fuel deeper trips into space. To manage this, the United States recently introduced a new set of guidelines called the Artemis Accords. This framework suggests that extracting resources from the moon does not violate the old 1967 rule against claiming ownership of outer space. Going back to our public park metaphor, the Accords argue that while you cannot claim the physical dirt as your own private property, you are perfectly allowed to pick the apples off the trees and sell them. This diagram shows another key part of those accords: safety zones. These designated areas protect active mining equipment from interference. It's essentially like drawing a thick chalk boundary around your sandcastle in the Sandbox, telling other kids they cannot step inside. While this makes practical sense for protecting machinery, it changes the rules of the park. It moves us away from the original goal of shared exploration and toward an environment built for private profit. Many developing nations, often referred to as the Global South, look at this trend with concern.
They see the solar system not as a chaotic open frontier where anyone can grab what they want, but as a carefully tended community garden. They advocate for a common heritage approach. The idea is simple. Since space belongs to everyone, any wealth pulled from it should benefit everyone, even the nations that do not own the rockets. That community approach stands in direct contrast to the Artemis Accords, which operates on a first-to-arrive basis. If only the wealthiest countries and companies can afford the moon, they keep all the rewards, leaving developing nations out of the picture. As a solution, many experts suggest creating an international licensing system. We actually use a framework exactly like this right now to manage and regulate deep-sea mining in our own oceans. It functions like applying for a public library card. A space company must submit a formal application, prove they meet strict environmental standards, and agree that a portion of their success provides tangible benefits to the rest of the world. Space exploration is advancing faster than ever before. If we want the solar system to remain a shared park that benefits all of humanity, we have to actively design fair, clear rules today, before the first fences are built.